Welcome to Creating a Life in Music. My name is Mike Salo. I'm a guitarist and music educator from Minneapolis, Minnesota in the US, and I want to know how other musicians make their living, how they got there, how they sustain it, and most importantly, the insights and tips they may have for the rest of us. I interview musicians from all over the world, from various parts of the music industry to break down the question, how do I do music full time? So join me as we discover the many different ways to create a life in music. If you're a guitar player who's ever wanted to attend music college but couldn't because it's too expensive or too far away, or maybe you're just beyond that point in your life and you're just too busy with your own family and your own career to commit to something like that, I would highly recommend going and checking out fretboardbiology.com. At only $29 a month, Fretboard Biology takes out all the guesswork, putting the right things in the right order. It's highly structured, highly organized, college-level guitar program designed by one of the top guitar educators on the planet, Joe Elliott. Joe was head of the guitar department at McNally Smith for a number of years, where he designed the entire guitar curriculum, as well as being head over at Musicians Institute in Hollywood for many, many years. He knows what you need to know. And you can get 50% off your first month when you go to fretboardbiology.com/register-salo, my last name, that's S-A-L-O-W. So fretboardbiology.com/register-salo. Yeah, man. So, great. Montreal, which is awesome. Not too far from me. I'm in Minneapolis, so same climate at least.
Yeah, pretty much. Winter has officially arrived like yesterday here.
Oh yeah, we got a snowstorm like 2 weeks ago, and there's been like 10 inches on the ground ever since. So yeah, man. Yeah. So tell me a little about yourself. I want to know like kind of your background and just how music became something that you came to be doing as a career is what it looks like. I mean, we don't really, this is the first time we've met, but from what I can tell online, it looks like you're doing music full time.
Yeah. Well, now I'm teaching. That's that's how that's what I do for a living. I teach guitar online. That's what I do most of the time. I quit my day job in 2016-ish. Okay. I was a chef. I was just a cook. But yeah, no, I've been playing guitar for 26 years, almost 27. I'm 33 and I started at 6. Okay. My dad just bought me a guitar. He like a half scale guitar, and he was a guitarist. He was not that. I'm sorry if you're watching. He was not that great. He was just like playing chords. I apologize to him if he watches. He was all right. But he told me that I don't really remember back then, but he told me that I seemed to be interested in that, and I seemed to always want to play music and stuff like that. So he bought me a guitar. He bought me a half scale guitar, and I learned a couple chords, and then I took lessons at 8, I believe, 7 or 8. Anyways, I was very young, and and I always, I was always interested in music and learning chords and stuff like that. But then at 12 or 11 or 12, I heard Metallica for the first time. I had heard, my father's, he's 60, I think 68 or something. So his thing was like Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and stuff like that. So that's the most shred I was ever exposed to before I heard Metallica. And then when I heard Metallica, I was like, man, okay, that's what I want to do. I heard Kill 'Em All, which I actually still think it's, as far as the guitar licks and stuff, I think it's my favorite guitar album for Metallica. The licks are simple, but very well played, and I really like that album anyways. So yeah, and I heard that and I was like, wow, okay, that's what I want to do. So then I asked my parents to get me an electric guitar, and they got me an electric guitar from Costco. And I sold it. Unfortunately, I should have kept it. I don't even know if they still make that brand. It was Nevada. The brand was Nevada. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that. Yeah, super rare. Anyways, I should have kept it. But anyways, and then I started learning licks. I got like the tabs book and stuff like that, and then from there I just kept shredding and learning, and
Nice, man. Yeah, great. Yeah. Costco guitar.
Yeah, Nevada was the brand. I remember.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't even know if they still make guitars. I don't even know what. Anyways, I'll look it up.
Yeah, Kill 'Em All. That would mean one of the first. I remember one of the first riffs I ever learned by Metallica was "Seek and Destroy."
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
Killer riff, so simple, but so very effective.
Yeah,
Head banging. Yeah.
My brother was the one that turned me on to Metallica, and he was like, "You learn this song, learn this song, learn this song, learn this song."
Yeah.
That was one of them that he was like, "You should go learn this song." Man. Dang, I was gonna say there was something you brought up that I wanted to talk about, but that's okay. So, did you? After that into like adulthood, did you attend college for music, or were you completely self-taught? Or
So but later in life, so in my early 20s, in my mid 20s, like 25, I decided to go and learn. I'd been playing guitar for a long time. I knew some music theory and stuff, but I had been like I was an okay, like I was more than an okay player. I was I could shred and I could play fast, and I had been, playing in bands and stuff like that and playing gigs. But there was something more. I was looking to, learn music theory and jazz and stuff. I was really attracted to, the fusion and jazz, aspect, and even classical music to a certain degree. But like at 25, 26, I went to University of Montreal actually, and it was jazz guitar. But and then I just realized it was like a slap in the face, because I had been playing guitar for a long time. There were kids there that knew so much more stuff than me. I was like, oh man, it's completely different background. They seem to, because here in Canada, we have a system. Our school system is different than yours. We have like after high school, there's something we call CEGEP, and I think it's only in Quebec, which is the province I'm in. We have like a 3-year pre-university school that people go to, and this is where they learn, and they have a music program. But at 26, you're kind of too old to go. You can go there, but you're kind of too old. It's like an in-between high school and university. And they have a music program where people learn like the basic, the chords and stuff like that. And most people that are in university have done this program, and I hadn't not done this program. And they had like a jazz background. It's what they knew. It's what they were taught. And just the way they visualize the fretboard is completely different than me. I see boxes and patterns. I visualize. I see the 3-note per scale, 3-note per string scales. I see the pentatonic box and stuff like that. But these guys, they seem to know every note of the fretboard. Anyways, it was like a slap in the face, but a great one, because it opened me up to a whole new world.
Yeah. Did you did you learn a specific system in order to kind of learn more of the jazz stuff within that school program? Because I know certain programs, they have a very specific way of teaching guitar. Was it a guitar focused program, or was it a music program and you had a guitar teacher? Because I know
it was a music program and I had a guitar teacher. You can, there's people, doesn't matter your instrument. There's drummers, there's, pianists and whatever. So they don't have like a specific method of teaching guitar. And it's really like when you get in, you have to know your instrument really. They won't take you like unless you can play very well. And that was the reason I got in, because there's criteria just to get in, and being able to read music and being able to spell chords and spell and know jazz standards was one of the criterias. And I did not know any jazz standard then, and they told me that the reason I got in was because I was very good at my instrument. They said, we'll give you a chance because you're really, really good. You're a great player. But said, I couldn't even read music. I didn't even know how to.
I got some weird interference there. Yeah, cool, man. So that's what I was going to ask you. Since you had that, I don't know. It just happened every once in a while, but okay. So
Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask you. So before that, that's like what? That's like 6 years of something else. So were you gigging a lot? Were you like touring, or were you playing in bands? What was your like gigging like, or music career like at that point? Before
Like back
college.
then, I was, yeah, before college. Back then, I was, a cook, a line
Okay.
cook in restaurants, because it's really all I thought I could do. And I would, go on, not really on like serious tour or whatever, but I would play gigs like, but I really came from the hardcore punk metal, death metal, you
Yeah.
know,
Nice.
scene. So
Me too.
I
Yeah.
could play. Oh yeah. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before I went to college, before I
Yeah.
went to
So,
music college.
okay, cool. Yeah.
Because I went at like 21. I went at 21 to music college, and those 3 years
Yeah.
before between, it was like playing in death metal bands, and I worked
Nice.
construction and for my
Cool.
dad.
Yeah,
And
so-
I played in death metal.
Yeah. It's the same kind of, background. Just day job, kind of boring job, that doesn't pay very well, but still, like I was okay in that, and I would play gigs and play with, death metal bands and play at festivals and stuff like that. But yeah, like the most technical, like I could play technical stuff, and I could play like I could do sweep picking and stuff like that. And I felt like I was an accomplished musician at some point. I was like, I can do all that. So I had no clue what I was doing at all. Like,
Well, I can relate on a
Yeah.
big time. That's exactly how I felt. So if you're a guitar player or bass player, you should really have a copy of Guitar Pro tablature software. I've been using Guitar Pro for like 15 years, and I really can't live without it. At this point, it's sort of an industry standard within the guitar education realm, and it's really easy to use. You can make all your licks and write out all your songs, and you can actually use it in conjunction with ultimateguitar.com, where you can download Guitar Pro files and learn all your favorite songs. So I couldn't recommend this software enough. And if you use the code MikeGP at checkout, you can get 10% off your copy of Guitar Pro 8. That's Mike, MikeGP, at checkout, guitar-pro.com. That's interesting, because the next question I was going to have was, so you obviously felt like something was missing, so you decided to go to school, and that's exactly what happened for me. Like I tried to not do school after high school, and I just realized like I didn't like it. I didn't like how I felt as a guitar player. I just felt like, so that must be a similar feeling. And then from there, the next question is, this is I think a good one for a lot of people who are wanting to do music for a living is, and I don't know what the pricing is like there, how college like student loan debt is there, because here it's like a big huge thing, student loan debt. But so how much, like, would you recommend people who are wanting to go into music go to college? Do you see it as a requirement, or do you think it's like a good choice? I should say, not requirement, but like, is it a good step to take in that path?
Well, I know that in the United States, it's not the same. Like the system is different as far as like loans and stuff like that. So here in Canada, the government loans you money. It's not really the bank. I don't know. I don't know if it's in the States, if it's a bank that loans you money.
It's both. It's like a mixture. There's federal student loans, and then you can get private student loans. Yeah.
Okay. So here in Canada, I think you can also get private student loans, but the difference is that there's barely any interest. So you can pay it. You can pay your debt in like 20 years, 30 years, and there's barely any interest. Like it's a 5% thing. Like just not even. In the United States, I know it's a different thing. Like the interest rate is much higher.
Yeah.
And like you said, like it's not a requirement. I think you can learn, but it's just, I think it makes things, because if you go to college, you're gonna be immersed in that environment. It's like every day.
That's what I say.
And you're gonna be playing with people. You're gonna be playing. You're gonna learn a ton of standards. You're gonna be, improvising. You're gonna learn a lot of stuff, and it's very. I think it would be really hard to do that, to learn all that stuff by yourself. But I don't believe it's necessary. I think all the information is there on the internet. But if there's no mentor, there's nobody to, and you're not like day in, day out immersed in that, it's going to be difficult to reach that level.
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah, I agree. Especially in this day and age, and I think it kind of depends on who your teacher is or who you're surrounded by if you're
Yeah.
not going to music college. Because I think there are situations where, I look at, I don't think, did the guys from Polyphia go to music college? I don't think they did that.
I don't know.
I think they just
And
started,
it doesn't
started
matter.
young. Yeah.
It doesn't matter because even if they don't really know exactly what they're doing, their music is great. Like it's really cool.
Well, they're obviously making stuff happen for themselves, so it doesn't matter at that point.
Oh yeah. But I
think it's kind of a case by case basis.
They don't know what
I always find it.
I don't want to say that they don't know what they're doing. They maybe they do. Like when I said maybe they don't know exactly.
Yeah,
what
I know what
doing.
you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like, it could be a number of scenarios. I mean, I've thought about that a lot with my idols too, like, because I get questions from students of like, why did they do this here? How come, like, for example, Metallica?
Yeah.
How come Kirk Hammett isn't playing? How come he plays this scale over this? Like, there's like, I think it's on Fade to Black. It's like a minor chord progression, but he plays the flat 2 in one of the solos towards the end. They're like, why is he doing that? And I was like, probably because he just did. Like, I don't think he really thought too much about it.
Sometimes it's not knowing what you're doing. Kind of like you don't have boundaries. Like you're gonna play a flat 2 over over a minor scale, over a minor chord, and it doesn't matter. If it sounds good, it sounds good.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool but the thing is, if you don't have no clue what you're doing, it might take more time for you to, write a cool solo because you don't know what, you don't have any kind of guidelines.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool to have guidelines and know the rules to break them.
So, so that brings me to another question that I think people ask a lot is, or not ask a lot, but I get this comment a lot, and I'm sure you might get similar comments of like, if you learn too much theory, it ruins creativity, and so on and so forth. So what's your take on that?
Well, I think that's bullshit.
Yes.
I think that's complete bullshit. I don't see, like, the only thing I see there is like the insecurity of not, or just like the guilt of not having put any time and effort, and like trying to take the people, the people that are better than you down because you want to, because I see no correlation between the two, zero whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. I think the only pitfall that they're maybe talking about is like in certain situations with certain type of people, I think they will, when they have all the information in their hands, they might overthink a lot of decision making.
Yeah, maybe.
I think that's more of like a case by case basis, because you give someone a lot of tools and then depending on the type of person, they're going to go, well, I need to use this and I need to use this and I need to use this and I need to use this, as opposed to just like for me, the way I write and this is why I agree with you exactly, is even though I have all the background and everything, I really don't overthink the theory. I'm kind of still using my ear a lot. Like, what do I like the sound of? And then so I had a teacher in college that would say, music first, theory second, when you're composing. So write what you feel and what you think sounds good, and then you can analyze it later, or you can analyze it on the fly, or you can use the tools from music theory to maybe troubleshoot what to write, or maybe you're having troubles writing something. You're like, oh, what if I could do this little move here, or I could use So I think it's just tools in the back pocket, especially if you get stuck. You can use theory to like actually finish a song because you're like, I don't know what to do next. Well, I could do this theory, like this thing I learned from music theory. Bloop, and
this chord would work perfectly well in this situation. I use that all the time, and that makes my songwriting what it is. But I do that all the time when I write solos. When I write, I use scales to play solo with. Whenever I want a specific sound, I know what scale to use. I know what scale is going to make it sound spicy like I want or not. You know what I mean? I think that if people overthink it, they might, but they'll eventually overcome that. It's a question of writing a lot of songs, and it's the same thing. Like the more you write music, the better you get. Yeah. The more you write solos, the better you get. It's not such a big problem. Okay, they might overthink a little bit and then let it go for a while, do something else and come back to it, Yeah. It's not a big problem. It's a bigger problem to try to write something and you have no clue what to do. And it just sounds like crap, and you're just just I believe that learning theory is never gonna be it's not shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
So you go to college, and then so that must be, I think maybe you said this before we started, that must be around the time frame when you finished was 2016. Is that around the time you finished? And so you went and did music full-time teaching. And so can you paint a picture of like what your kind of career has looked like since then? Because we talked before that you obviously did the Masked Singer, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so what other stuff have you done like that? What have you been doing since, post graduating? So teaching, some gigging stuff, obviously. So what's that look like for you?
Some gigging, obviously I was not like right away making, a great living. I was just not like right away after school making tons of money. And and I want to say that to people that, think that if after they graduate college, they're going to, you have to work a lot and you have to find the opportunities to gig, and most gigs are not going to pay you very much. And, that's unless you're really lucky. So for me, it was teaching, but then the pandemic really brought that to another level because of the online teaching. So I was teaching, gigging a little bit. I was not making a lot of money. And for a little while, I was even on welfare, and I was just, had time at home to practice and stuff like that. But I would, do lessons, one-on-one lessons. And then when the pandemic hit, that's really when things kind of blew up for me because I started posting on social media. Before that, I wasn't really posting any guitar stuff on social media. Maybe once in a while, I had like an Instagram page, which is the same page with like personal Instagram. And I had like, I don't know, like 100 friends or, like 100 followers with people I knew. And I would post, I don't know, a solo once in a while. And maybe once in a while, one would kind of go viral, maybe end up on, people's Discover page or whatever. And then I discovered TikTok as well. So at the same time as the pandemic hit, it was kind of when TikTok became a big thing.
Yeah.
So I started posting so like I started posting this format of like just putting my phone there, and which is still what I do. Is I put my phone there and the same angle, and I just play a lick, or I teach something or whatever. And that's really when things blew up for me. I got a lot of
did that lead to the Masked Singer thing, or is that separate?
I guess it kind of did, because the person that asked me if I wanted to do that gig was somebody who follows me on social media, which is not necessarily someone who discovered me online, but I think the fact that I have like that many followers and whatever, and that much experience or whatever, it's kind of like a social proof thing. So I was his go-to when they were looking for someone, because I don't know, like I believe it's somehow linked, maybe not directly, but that probably helped. Yeah.
And they probably were they specifically looking for kind of like a rock shred type thing?
Yeah.
They
were looking for it because the masked character was they called it I'm gonna try to translate to from French to English. It was the punk skunk.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And Moufette it's French, but it's in French. But the punk skunk, I guess, would be the translation. It's actually the literal translation. So they were looking for a guitarist, someone who could play the solo of "Hit Me With Your Best Shot."
Oh yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. But they, with tattoos, and that looks kind of like badass.
You got the look, man.
Yeah.
So did they make you play the exact solo, or did they let you take some liberties there?
Actually, they sent me the track, and they said you have to learn this note by note, and it's got to be exactly the same thing.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Which
So,
it makes sense for live TV. Yeah, they want they want the audience to hear they're like make it seem like they're playing to the actual song.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's
because
all
I
because there's my guitar was not even plugged in. It was all
oh okay.
sorry
And
to say,
yeah, I
but
mean it makes sense. Did you
yeah,
track it? Did you get to track it, or were you just kind of for
not
show?
even, not even.
Just
They
need
were
somebody.
looking for, but they were looking for someone who could play as if it's
They
the guy that's playing.
I appreciate that actually because sometimes they do that stuff and it's like whoever
Like,
they doesn't. Yeah, I've seen even
yeah,
we've all seen those videos of like this does not
yeah,
match up.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's cool. So, were you playing a V on that one?
Yeah, it was
Is that yours?
no, it was it was there and they had chosen it for
For
the
that.
it came with this guy, the costume and stuff. And and they put a freaking makeup and all that stuff. I thought I looked like a clown. It was funny, like a badass clown. But anyways, it was I forget the brand, like something like a Nevada guitar, like a really cheap Barracuda or something. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. So, has that turned into any like relationship that you'll be getting calls back, or is that pretty recent?
Yeah, it was in July, I think.
Oh, damn,
Like,
really recent. Yeah.
July 15th. And the show aired in like a couple months after that.
Wow,
It was
very
a
cool.
huge production, man. When I got there, I had never been on such a big budget,
Yeah,
shit.
yeah, I believe it. Like
It
that'd be
was
crazy.
mind blowing. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then for people who are listening, I don't know if we mentioned that was in Montreal, so you're in Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, how much? So obviously, I kind of can sense this. But like, so you've done the Instagram and TikTok thing for the past 2 years, so that's had a pretty big impact on your career as a whole.
Oh yeah.
And what are your thoughts on the use of social media for musicians?
I think it's the best thing you could do now. Now in 2022, it's the best thing you can do for yourself as a musician. It's free, for the most part, because obviously the more people join Instagram and TikTok, the more you need to use paid ads and stuff like that to be seen. But still, I believe that because of the algorithms are really good. So if you're making great content, the algorithm is going to push you. That's free. So yes, totally. If you can make great content, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Just to be seen. Yeah.
And I've always thought too, when you can have a consistency across your content, it seems to be something that really helps.
Yeah.
Because I think it's people recognize, oh, it's that
Yes.
person again. Oh,
Yes.
it's that person again. Oh, it's that. And then at some point they go, I'm going to check out this person. Oh, I actually like this person. And then they click
Absolutely.
follow. So for me,
absolutely.
for me, it was like using the exact same shot every time.
Yeah.
And then kind of having the same format of the video. And, because I feel like I'm a little bit more like, I just blend in like the way I look, where you're like, you have the tats that like, you like, oh, there's like that shredder rock, like you really stick out and it's hard to ignore. And then plus the way you play is no offense. It's a compliment. And, and then the way you play too is outrageous. So I saw you shredding and then I saw some video where it was like, it was like shred, fusion, jazz. And I was like, okay. And I actually, because it was like silent video, so I clicked on it and I watched it and I was like, what the fuck? This guy says every one of them really well.
Yeah.
I was like, which I really appreciate because that's what I strive for. I strive for well-roundedness while still doing the things I love to do. Like, I'm not going to try to be well-rounded and like be like pick up stuff that I don't even like to do. But I do think being a well-rounded player is really important. And while still kind of like, obviously you're going to go down the routes you go down that you really enjoy, but so that brings me to the question of what do you think it's more important to do? Do you think it's more important to be a well-rounded player or to really pick a genre or lane and just try to master that one thing?
I guess it depends what you like, what your goals are. And, for me, if you mean about social media, I would say that, which is what I did. I started with, always the same angle. It was always shred, and it was always educational content. And for like almost a year, I only posted educational content and shred stuff. And then eventually, when I got more followers and people that are, I consider, I don't know, fans or people that really engaged, an engaged audience, I started posting stuff that I enjoyed doing, but that I did not know if it was going to do well. But I didn't really care because I knew my engaged audience would like it or not or whatever. I didn't care at that point. If you're looking to build an audience, I would say pick a genre or pick something, pick an angle, and always do the same thing in the same format. If you're going to play covers, do covers, and that seems to do very well. People that always have the same angle, covers, same style, classic rock, these guys do very, very well. But if that's not what you want to do, don't do that. That's not what I appreciate watching those videos, but I would never do that personally. And then, but if you, as a player, if you just want to get, this was really my opinion about social media, but as a player, as a guitar player, you should learn everything that you want to learn. Spend as much time as you can on every style that you like and want to learn. For me, it was at some point was country. I spent like 2 years playing.
That was one of them in there too. One of the genres I think I saw in there.
Yeah, country chicken picking is. I think I spent like 2 years playing almost only that. Jazz, obviously, college. What else? I spent some time playing classical guitar, but I don't feel good enough to be posting it. But that was another one. Shred, obviously, many years of shredding. What else? Country, jazz, fusion. Those are all styles that I put a lot of time and effort into because I really appreciate those styles and I really enjoy, So whatever you like, spend time, learn it. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best things you can do as a musician is to protect your own hearing. I've been using these Eargasm high-fidelity earplugs for months now, and I really love them. They're nice and discreet, high quality, and they don't make any of the sound muffled. They let in the right frequencies that I need on gigs or at shows. You can get 10% off your order if you use code MSALO10 at checkout. That's my first initial M, my last name Salo, SALOW, 10 at checkout to get 10% off your order at eargasm.com. I think it's important to being a well-rounded player in any instrument. I think is super important, and I think you kind of have to find. I shouldn't say you have to, but it helps when you can find some almost like quote unquote like gateway drugs as far as gateway players, the gateway players that lead you into that genre that you're like, oh, this is what country guitar can be, or this is what jazz guitar could be, or this is what fusion guitar is. Did you have any of those gateway players that brought you into those genres, or were you just I need to know how to do this, so I'm going to go do it? Because I had gateway players that helped me go become very interested in wanting to learn it.
Yeah. Totally. I would say fusion. Greg Howe. He was a shredder and then eventually became a fusion guy. That was my favorites. Yeah. Oh, incredible player. Who else? I don't know. Okay. What's his name? Brent Mason.
Yeah.
Brent Mason is a great country player, but he can also play jazz. He can play bebop very well. So that's another one. That got me into the more finger style. He plays with thumpic. So those are two examples, but there's many guys like that really got me into that, different genres. But country guitar was really, the chicken picking. When I got into chicken picking is because somebody told me, hey, you should check out country guitar. It's fast and it's impressive. So I just Googled it. I searched on YouTube fast country guitar and I was really blown away. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. Okay. So that's an exception. I Googled it and I was blown the heck away. And yeah.
Nice, man. Yeah. I think I have a similar story with country guitar or it was either that or I think I heard Guthrie Govan maybe have some country or some chicken picking stuff. And I was like, he does that, and then you
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
someone
yeah.
like Guthrie do everything. You're like, well, I want to do
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, he
You know,
does
like,
everything well. He's
yeah.
like, yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the type of player for me that like kind of actually led me in a lot of directions. He actually, I always was learning that stuff, but every time I heard him play something, I was like, God, I really need to go learn that more. Like, oh, I got to learn more country. Then you lead you to like Johnny Hyland, Brent Mason,
Yeah.
and Guthrie Trapp, or like Danny Gatton, and all those players. And then on the other end too, like I would hear him play just I would hear him play like traditional blues licks so well in context, and then his obviously he'd do some crazy stuff around it.
Yeah.
And that I started to analyze these things and be like, that's like I've heard like blues guys play that exact same lick, and then it leads you down the road of like all these different blues players that he learned from, and trying to just play to a blues in a very traditional way. But yeah, he's a great example of that. I think I don't know, for people that would be listening to this, especially guitar players, I think being a well-rounded player, it only helps. It's like the theory thing. Yeah. It's like the more you learn, the better you'll be. And because I don't know how it is for you, but like a lot of that stuff creeps into my other styles, but in a very complementary, natural and complementary way, like to the point of like where those are the licks that people go, wait, what was that lick? And it's probably like a fusion or jazz influenced lick that I played over a metal like shred solo. And they're like, what was that? Yeah.
And you couldn't have said it better. I do that all the time. I would play, like a riff, like a shreddy, and followed by.
Oh, I got you. I think the noise cancellation is on, so it's cutting out your guitar. Anyways, it's stupid Google Meets does that.
Yeah. But anyway, and it seems like it sounds like one, lick, that one very uniform, or it just sounds like, but it's two completely completely different styles. I'll be playing alternate picking, super fast alternate picking in A minor, and then go to my pentatonic licks, my country licks with the same tone. It just sounds like one cool shreddy lick. I do that all the time. When I write songs, I'm my band, the music that I write is, I would say maybe prog rock, but I always have those little country licks in there. Even the riffs, I use chicken picking and hybrid picking in my riffs,
Yeah, which I've seen. So that brings me to the next thing of you talking about your own band and everything. And from what I can tell, on the stuff I watch of yours, like I know what it takes to make music and make an album. And it's very time consuming. Plus you're doing a lot of social media stuff, plus you're teaching. So it seems like you're like 24/7 playing guitar. And I don't know how accurate that looks, because I don't know how accurate that is because I'm looking from the outside, of course. Yeah. So how are you how are you scheduling and because you obviously like need to have a life outside of playing guitar, and whether you have a family. I guess I don't know much more about your personal life, but so how do you manage to kind of coordinate all that stuff? And is it something that you are doing as often as I think you are, where it's like you wake up and you're just like guitar until you go to bed? Because that's what it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I work from home, so that helps. I have like a little kind of home studio you can't really see it. I have like a Soundcraft console.
I see like a rack behind you or something.
Yeah, there's a rack mount. I just recently changed the rack.
Nice.
I changed for like better looking furniture. I had like just a rack before that. But anyways, there's pictures on my personal Instagram. But anyways, I have a family. I have 3 kids. I have a wife. So it is, I have a life outside of playing guitar. But this is really it's my full-time job, but it's not, it feels effortless because I'm so passionate about what I do. So yes, you're right. I wake up, I go downstairs, I play guitar, I do stuff, I make content, but all that stuff, and I teach, I have appointments every day. I have online appointments. I teach and I write music, but all that stuff is like, for me, is absolutely effortless. It's like I'm playing. It's like I'm having fun. So it's like, and when I'm done with that, I spend time with my kids, and my life is near perfect. It's really what I wanted to do, and that's what I do, and that's perfect.
Great.
There's ups and downs, obviously, but it is effortless. That's yeah.
Great. So a lot of your appointments, so your lessons, are those a mixture of local and abroad, or is it mostly from Instagram or from TikTok, or do you have like local people that you've had for years? Because I know for me, like I have quite the mixture of people. Like I have a lot of people I've had for 6 years that are local and found me local and probably have no idea how much I'm doing online. I have the opposite of the people who found me online who are local or otherwise, because I have that mix too of like there's like I have like 5 dudes who found me and were like, hey, I live in your town, and then now they come over. And then I have people who don't, obviously, like I have people from all over the place. But there's that mixture. And how much is that? Like, is that like kind of how yours is, or how is that for you? Pretty
much, but the biggest percentage is from the United States and online. For some reason, I seem to be doing very well in the States. Like this is where most of my audience is. So the highest concentration of my students is in New York City for some reason. I have a lot of
interesting.
For some reason, I don't know why, but so when the pandemic hit, I was at my place for a little while, and then I kind of stuck with that, even though like once in a while I still let people come, people from Montreal, but I find it better. It's easier to manage time because when somebody comes to you need to have like a 15-minute window where like somebody comes in and they have to like set up and whatever, and then they leave, and then somebody else has to. So you can fit more. It's better to manage. I find it better as far as managing my time and having people. I can have people like one after the other, like 3 in a row, and like not spend a minute. I don't have to have a 15-minute window, maybe like a 5-minute window or something. Or sometimes not even. So I find it just easier for that reason. But most people are in New York, United States. Some people from the UK, some people from Australia. That's kind of hard to sometimes with the time zone.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've had people. I had a guy from Hong Kong once. He did not stick.
Because it's got to be either super early for you or super late for him, or the other way around. So
and I had a similar thing, a guy from the UK. But in both cases, they were not people. They were. I was recommended to them as opposed to them finding me. So that's that's sometimes not a good fit, because online I've noticed is I actually, I was talking to this with someone else recently. I seem to attract people who are actually very alike, like similar to me personality wise, because I am myself in my video lessons. So so therefore I'm probably, attracting certain types of individuals as far as like, oh, I like this guy. And then they take lessons with you. So I think when they come to you because of your personality, because of what you have online, they're way more likely, because first off, they're a fan. Second off, they know how you communicate because they've heard you talk. So they like the way you communicate. So they probably communicate in a similar way. So it's like this, it's a perfect type of way to get students. Because my best students I feel like I make friends now. Like I become friends with all my students.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've absolutely, and you couldn't have said it better. People, and it's funny because I think last week somebody logged in and they said, "Hey man, I feel like I know you because I see you every day on social media. I feel like but we'd never really met." So
isn't that weird how social media works like that? That's kind of creepy, but yeah.
It is kind of creepy, but it's kind of cool in a way too, because that's what people feel connected to you in a way. So they really, that's how they become engaged, and they become fans of you, and they become, they really support you. So that's I feel like for that reason, it's a good thing. And yeah, totally. I've developed relationships with, with people. I have friends now that are, students that are
Yeah.
friends. And yeah,
I have a student. He was like, yeah, I'm going to Costa Rica, and they're going to be gone for a while. And I was like, oh, cool, man. Yeah, hit me up when you're back. And he was like, yeah, if you ever want to rent my condo in Costa Rica, you're more than welcome to. And I was like, sweet, thanks, man, because I had him for a while with lessons. I was like, cool. And I was like, so what do? You Airbnb it? And he's like, no, it's just family and friends only. And I was like, oh, thanks, man. I was like, appreciate that.
Really cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, so he's like, you can rent it whenever you want. And I was like, I don't know when I'm going to Costa Rica, but I appreciate it. I'll have to make that'll be a destination, I guess. No.
Yeah.
So my next question that I was gonna ask, I don't know if it really pertains to you in the way you've been talking, because I was gonna ask you, how do you stay motivated? But it sounds like you don't really have any issues with motivation.
Yeah, and this is one of the main things I try to teach my students, because a lot of people say, yeah, but it's hard to find time to practice, because, one of the main things I tell them as far as, shredding and becoming fast and stuff, like the number one thing you should do is repetition. Just repeat the muscle movement, muscle memory. It's just repeat the movement. The more you repeat it, the better you'll get. It's as simple as that. If we talk about shredding and playing fast, and they say, yeah, but I don't have time, and I can't seem to find the time. And one of the main things I try to teach them is motivation. Try to find what's going to motivate you, what's going to make it effortless for you to pick up a guitar and just jam and just repeat those movements, or just jam or have fun and make it feel effortless. Make it feel, you got to find those things in you, like those motivational, whatever. For me, sometimes when I listen to music, I listen to new music on Spotify. Bands that I really admire. It gives me the motivation to go and write songs. I listen to Porcupine Tree, is probably one of my favorite bands of all time. And I listen to their music and I'm like, I want to write songs as good as that. So those are all ways that if I don't feel, motivated or whatever, I'll do those things and it'll motivate me. Or just grabbing a guitar. Like I have a guitar in my hands now. I'm not really playing, but I could be doing that while, having a conversation with you or watching Netflix or whatever. It's effortless. Yeah. I found ways to integrate the guitar in my life in an effortless way.
Yeah. So you're, I guess those are the things that keep, so I guess that brings me to that question. You kind of answered it. So what are those things beyond like listening to, stuff from Spotify? Like what are your motivations, that like are the things that you're like, that like I continue to do this because, and I imagine that like, you're doing this to make a living too. So there's got to be some sort of family element in there too, where you're like, I not only am I doing this thing I love, but I also have to continue to do it and grow and make this thing happen in a real way for my kids and for my family.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's another big motivator. I make a living. I have to, earn money because it's how it's what I do for work. So, and I got to be good because I got to teach people. I got to be, somehow better than my students. And I got to always try to, not better, but always have something to offer them. Be
a master of the craft so that you can, share it. Yeah, exactly.
And so my goal is to try to make them as better than me and try to make them, it's not to always be better than others. It sounded kind of like that, but it's not at all what I wanted to say. I always try to, help people as much as possible. And I want them to become incredible players. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how often is practice a part of your day to day? So are you practicing every single day do you have a regimen for practice?
Not really, unless I have something specific I want to learn, because I spend so much time playing guitar and teaching that I don't feel like I need any practice time to just maintain my level. Like I get all of that from playing and teaching and making videos and writing music and whatever. But if I have like something specific I want to learn, so like sometimes for some reason I'm working on a jazz standard, or I want to, get better at using the altered scale, or, the melodic minor or whatever. I'll spend some time, but I don't follow a specific regimen. But I don't recommend everybody to do what I do, because not everybody is in my shoes, and not everybody works with a guitar in their hands, and not everybody has all the time, to play that I have, the same amount of time. But I personally don't follow like a specific regimen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then as far as your, so I'm very much constantly thinking about, ways, productivity, and ways to be more productive, and ways to like kind of not streamline, but not waste time, and that comes in a lot of different forms, different ways to maintain my health and sleep, and what time am I getting up, and what time am I stopping working on music, and things like that. So do you have any, this is an interesting question, because do you have any, like, I don't want to say crazy, but do you have any like interesting like habits or rituals that you do that you're like, I do this because I know it helps me in the grand scheme of like staying motivated on top of my stuff? Like for me, I do cold showers every day.
Nice.
And I don't do the full cold shower. I always do the end, because for me, I always feel like it's this kick in the ass to not get lazy. Because if I do that, it's like I start my day, because I take a shower right away. If I don't work out, I usually work out, but it's kind of like this kick in the ass to be able to like not just be complacent and get lazy. Because sometimes it's really easy just to be like, nah, maybe I'll not do this today or something.
Yeah.
So do you have any interesting rituals that you love and would maybe recommend, or like say, yeah, you should do this or something?
No, nothing like
you
specific.
Could not
I think, but I understand like your point, like 100%. And I'm kind of like you too. Like I make my bed every single day, and I keep my house very neat and clean. And I work out almost every day. And I try to I used to meditate. I used to have I actually used to have a ritual like that. I would meditate every single day for 40 minutes. I almost did that for like a whole year. Oh, wow. I meditated for 40 minutes every single day, and that really drastically changed my life. And then and now I try to do it. I can't do 40 minutes now, because back then I didn't have kids. But now it is a ritual, no, but it's something that I feel you kind of always have in the back of your mind, to always. Don't let yourself go like, oh, not today, I don't feel like it, or just never let yourself do that for nothing. Not even for doing the dishes or making your bed. Just always, if you have something to do it. Always, even if it's something really simple. That goes a long way. Even in your playing, even in whatever you do. So yeah.
I think I think that's the idea of. For a lot of people, like doing the workout, doing the meditation, doing the cold showers. I think one thing with those things is that if you say this is going to drastically help me, or if you feel it's going to drastically help you, then it's like we do these things and we do them regardless every single day, so that we can then make sure that we do the things that we need to do and maintain the motivation or whatever. And it's kind of funny, because it's like, we'll take the same exact attitude for that stuff. Like that's one of the reasons I do the cold shower thing. It sucks. It's, and in Minneapolis, I don't know how it is in your house, but like in winter, like my pipes get damn cold. So like that water's
we have
coming.
The same climate.
I just know houses can be different as far as like the way the water's regulated. So for me, it's like the winter is when those cold showers are they're like really cold. It doesn't matter when I get up, that's part of my morning. And it's so easy. Like that's probably the easiest thing I do. It doesn't take out any extra time, because what do? Well, even if you do it like I do, I used to do for 2 years straight. Wow. No heat, just jump in cold, do the shower, get out for 2 years. Wow. And then my girlfriend made a comment. She was like, but you enjoy your hot showers, don't you? And I was like, yeah. She was like, well, then you should get that enjoyment. That's going to help you too. And I was like, you're right. And then I heard someone saying they do half and half. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So, but it doesn't take any extra time. Literally, I'm already going to take a shower. So things like that. And then like working out too. Obviously working out has its health benefits, which are extremely important. But these are things I think that we do. And what you said, when you have something to do, you just do it. And I think people would be surprised. And this really pertains to, musicians, because musicians have a tendency to, and I don't want, this is going to like turn a bunch of people away, but we just, there's like a lot of indecisiveness and uncertainty in our community, and like a lot of anxiety and depression. And I think a lot of that does come from the fact that being a musician full time is this uncertain path, and it can feel very chaotic at moments. And there's never really one thing that you're doing at any given moment. It's not like you just like show up to the job and do the work and then come home. It's like you're kind of, small business, you're entrepreneurial, you're having to do all these things at once, even if you're just doing one aspect of the industry, like you're just gigging or you're just teaching. And just is the wrong word. I mean, if that's your main thing, you're still having to do all this crap that surrounds that. So like
most of the work is not necessarily teaching. Most of the work is definitely not gigging. It's everything that comes with it.
Like the gig is an hour or 2 hours and then it's done. And
that's
so people
fun.
So people go, like, you're good. So like, they may be like, oh, yeah, it's 150 for 2 hours. That's pretty good. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like is not. It's like, do I know the songs, and where is the gig? So if I know all the songs really well and the gig's like 15 minutes away, then it's like, sure, then maybe 150 is fine for me. Can I bring my Axe effects and just plug it into the board? Yes. Okay. Even better. Less stuff. Like how high profile is this gig? No one's going to even care. Like no one's going to even be watching. Sweet. And then $150, no problem. But like you start to add these different levels, and it becomes this thing of like, oh no, you don't know any of the songs. It's actually for a high profile this or whatever, and then it's this and it's this, and it's $150. I'd be like, but then it becomes like, well, who's on the gig? Who's the gig for? Because if they're like, oh, X, Y, and Z people from town are on the gig, you're like, oh, those are like heavy hitting people. Yeah, maybe I do want this gig because I need to get in with those people. Or I don't know how big is Minneapolis, but if you know the musicians, sometimes if you don't know who they are, you don't know how it's going to feel. You've never played with them. I know here in Montreal, the scene is it's not huge, so people know each other, but still. We know each other at this point, but like there's one of the bands I play in is just it's a roster of like hundreds of musicians, and they just throw random people on gigs, and there's a database and an online like kind of system. And so like, they send you an invite, accept or decline, and then you see the pay, and you get to see where it's at, and you get to see who's all on it, and you can accept or decline. But cool. When I first started doing it, luckily I already knew a lot of these people who are on them, but there's plenty of times where it's like one person on the gig I sort of know, and then I don't know anyone else. So I'm like, hey man, been a long time. How you been? And that's the only person. So I just immediately start talking to them.
But if they're great musicians, at least you know.
Oh, always great musicians. Always great musicians. Sometimes unprepared, but they're great musicians. Every once in a while they'll be like, I didn't learn that one song, and then like 3 other people will be like, you didn't, neither did I. And I'm like, I did. You fucks, you sons of bitch. It's happened like once or twice, and I'm like, oh shit, guys. And it's usually some stupid song, but man. I don't know how we got there. We got there from the motivation thing. So I think you made a good point where you're like, I mean, it's a very straightforward, but like you have something to do it. And you'll be surprised. Like, what do they say? Something in motion stays in motion. What's that law? I don't know. It's some like physics law. So it's something in motion state, and that's very true. Like you keep moving, you keep trucking along. Like you just it just becomes what you're doing.
Every little step counts. it's consistency over overdoing it once or twice. Consistency is key. That's what I always tell my students. Even, as far as like shredding and playing fast. If you every single day you consistently practice this a skill or whatever, you'll get there eventually. There's no other way. You'll get there. But it's not like practicing 12 hours a day, 2 days, in 2 days per year. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's consistency beats all that stuff. Yeah,
for sure. And it maintains many things. I mean, it's going to maintain your playing, your social media account in this case. Because people get really salty with social media stuff. Because they don't want to do the consistency game. But it's like any other skill in a way. Like you almost want to treat, for me, I treat like followers and the growing of that as kind of without sounding dumb, like a game where it's like I'm growing my character, and if I'm not consistent, it's going to be complacent, and then I want to come back to it. You ever played it? I don't know if you play video games, but you play a video game, you stop playing, you come back 6 months later, and you're like, where am I, and how do I play this game? And like it's kind of like with social media, and then you fall off, but people are willing to do that with their instrument. And I'm talking about like our peers. They'll be willing to do it with their instrument. When it comes to social media, there's some disconnect where they like feel like like that's like icky. I don't want to do that. But it's like, man, do you want to? For me, I'm like, well, I can either use it to grow my career, or I can not use it and not have the benefits of that. So for me, it's just this consistency, man. Like that constant, keep it going, keep it coming.
I feel like a lot
and make it. It helps in the grand scheme of your career, Yeah. So you're going to say,
I think like a lot of it. Oh no, never. It's. I think we had a glitch.
I think there's a little bit of a. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it has a lot to do with insecurity. Like not everybody's willing to just post themselves playing, and a lot of people say they don't want to do it, but a lot of people don't want to do it because they don't think they're good enough. And that was one of the things. Like before I started posting every single day, I thought I was like I was following a lot of guitar pages, and I was not one. That's before the pandemic, and I would see all these players and say like, oh man, these guys are. Why would I even post on social media? These guys are so much better than me. But you're always going to be better than somebody, and someone is going to say, wow, this guy is amazing. So and not even that, like you should never hold back because you think you're not good enough. You should always, whatever you do, you should always be proud of doing it. So even if you suck, like be proud of doing whatever you do. So that should never hold you back as far as posting stuff and being consistent on social media. I think a lot of it is insecurities. People see those players online, and they're like, oh man, I'll never be as good as that guy, so why bother? Well, do it because somebody somewhere will say, wow, somebody somewhere will be, will love your playing, and just do it for yourself. Just do it. Just be proud of where you are.
And it's an art. So like, think of, think of all, this is for people listening too. Like think of all the players that you do like they're, for me, like they're all over the board. And like, I don't sit there and go like, well, he's better than him. And I don't do that. Yeah. Like I have the guys that, are my favorites. Maybe, but I don't even know if I have like, I'm not a favorite type person. Like I don't have like favorite things. I have a lot of things that I really like. And that's the way like, I am with like someone's like, who's your favorite band? I'm like, I mean, right now it's this band. Last year it could have been, or like, who's your favorite guitar player? Well, right now I really like so-and-so, but in the past it's been people like this. Like, when I was like 18, 19, I thought Steve Vai was my favorite guitar player of all time. And I could never like any guitar player more than I was like, oh, he's the best. I just loved, and I wanted to jam and everything. And then a year later, I was like learning Paul Gilbert stuff, going like, oh, Paul Gilbert's awesome. I want one of his guitars, and then 19. And then a couple of years later, it's like Guthrie Govan comes out of the woods and you're like, oh, that I gotta
yeah. But I think it's wise to know that your taste will always change and evolve. So it's a really wise thing to say, I don't have a favorite. I just, maybe now it's this so-and-so and later it will be so-and-so.
Yeah. And the point I'm trying to make, I guess, that was like two kind of things, but is the idea of like, if people are like thinking like, well, I don't want to post because I'm afraid because there's all the other people out there who are doing it really great. Well, that's why I brought that up. Like the favorites thing. It's like, well, we all like a lot of musicians and a lot, and you're just part of the pool, and who you never know, someone's going to like you, and they could like you for reasons that you don't even know. Like you might think like, well, I can't shred like that person, but it's like that might not be what people like out of your playing in the first place. Like they probably like you have very good phrasing, or you have good tone, or you have good feel, or or maybe the way you speak to the camera. Like I get so many compliments on the way I talk to the camera. And it's not like, oh, okay. Which is great. I love it. I actually feel better about those compliments than I do about my own playing. When someone compliments my playing, I'm like, cool, thank you. And then when they compliment the way I teach, I'm like, oh,
it's like
I'm really happy it's helping you. Yeah,
absolutely. And I have those feelings too. I feel like, I feel like I can shred, I can play fast, but when it comes to, I don't feel like I'm a great jazz player because I compare myself to incredible jazz guys that are on Instagram that do very well in that. But some guys that have no jazz background whatsoever look at my, bebop stuff and they go like, "Oh my God, it's mind blowing." I'm like, so, I don't, so, there's always going to be different perspectives. So,
Speaking of that, do you have, I'm this whole podcast is focused around building a life in music and interviewing a lot of different people from all different backgrounds, not just guitar players. This first whole season inherently will be guitar players because I mean, that's what I do. But I have a lot of guests in the future that don't. But I do have like a whole list of things that I would like to pick guitar players' brains about. And one, we brought up players. So this is kind of not really picking your brain, but do you have any guitarists that and I would say like more that you think are underrated that not enough people know about, like maybe 2 or 3 that you can think of off the top, or even just one.
Okay, so yes, okay, let's say Wes Montgomery, because most guys, most shredders, and most people that are not into jazz at all have no clue who he is, or maybe they've heard him, but they think it's corny or whatever. And that guy has incredible phrasing. He has incredible technique. It's just, he's a mind-blowing musician. So I think, I don't think he's underrated, but I think he's not known enough, so yeah, that would be one. Who else? I don't know. I can think of, I would say Wes Montgomery, jazz, bebop jazz guys from the 60s in general.
Yeah.
They could totally shred.
Go to for people who like want to get into jazz and have no idea anything. Most people who don't have any clue about jazz probably don't know who Wes Montgomery is, but he's like kind of like the go-to, bebop, jazz guitarist, bebop.
Traditional, because
he's got a very sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so before I knew who he was, I thought, okay, in the 60s and 70s we had Jimmy Page, Jimi Hendrix, and all these guys. And I thought, oh wow, they could. But man, like 10 years before that, we had Wes Montgomery that could totally shred. Without a doubt. So so Wes Montgomery, Joe Pass, all these guys,
Okay. Cool, man. Well, I I got an appointment here. I got to take a little break here about so in the next 15 minutes, so we can wrap it up here. So a couple more things before we wrap it up. First off, do you have any projects or anything you're doing that you'd like to shout out or promote? Like I know you have your band and your solo music. So anything's in the works that people should be kind of prepared for or look out for?
I'm working on an album, so definitely check that out. If you want to go and follow my band page, which is Polychuck, my last name, it's kind of like Van Halen, Bon Jovi, took my last name and it became the band name. Check it out, Polychuck Official. There's, I'm constantly posting stuff, but it's not just shred stuff. It's stuff with the band. So we're doing riffs and there's drumming and keyboards and all that good stuff. So definitely check that out. And there'll be an album next year. Yeah, that's it.
Great, man.
Yeah.
And then last thing, so I guess if you could narrow it down to like one solid piece of advice, if you could narrow it down to like a single sentence for people that are aspiring musicians or music students or people who would like to create a life in music and have a career in music, what would that be? Like a one sentence, like piece of advice of like kind of something you live by, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe something you tell your students all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So it became possible for me to make a living with music when I started believing it could be something. So believe in yourself, believe it can happen. If you believe it can happen, it will happen. If you don't believe you can make a living, you won't.
Yeah.
Just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. It's totally possible. It's not that hard to do it. And if you do it every day and you do it well, you will succeed. Just do it. And if you don't think you do it well, keep doing it. Somebody thinks you're doing it well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the belief is a huge thing. Obviously, like, if you don't believe yourself, you're not even going to try. So just believing it's possible at all, whether it be from naivety or from, seeing people who've done it and seeing that you could do it yourself. Sometimes it helps, even if you're like, for me, I think it was naivety. I was like, yes, I can totally do music. And now I'm doing it. I'm like, oh God, good thing I believed in myself back then. Cause my adult person, like my adult self, I think if I was presented with the option at this age, I'd be like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. Cause it just too many things come into your life and anyway, that's a whole other side thing. That's just a side thing. Anyway, cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you being on and, next time in Montreal, I'll hit you up.
Thanks for having me, man. It was an honor. You're an absolute monster player. I really
thanks, man. I appreciate it. You are too.
Yeah. Thank you. So, man, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, dude. We'll have to do it again another time. Once I get guests on, I'll bring it back around probably, at some point and well, enjoy the weather in Montreal. We can at least relate on that. It's like the exact same here. So damn.
Cool.
Cool, man. Well, again, appreciate you being on and, everyone go check out Polychuck, Instagram and band Instagram. So you have two Instagrams. There's Polychuck, Thomas Polychuck, which is your kind of big one. And then there's the newer one, right? So you recently started the one with your band. So
so like
same name.
April last year. It's just Polychuck Official, just the last name. Yeah.
Cool. So go follow them on Instagram, everyone. All right, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, dude, have a good one.
Bye-bye, you too.
If you'd like to join my Patreon to get your questions answered by the guests, then you can go to patreon.com/Mike Salo. There are several tiers there that you can take part in and lots of different perks like pre-recorded guitar lessons or even one-on-one guitar lessons with me. There are live master classes every week for certain tiers. And again, you can go to patreon.com/Mike Salo to check that out.